Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Okay. How many, just this class, how many freshmen are in here? Are there any freshmen? One? Two? Sophomores? A few more? Juniors? Seniors? A lot of seniors. You looking forward to getting out of school and going to work? How many hours a week do you plan on working when you go to work? Anybody? 40? 40? Is that what you want? Anybody else? 40 or less? Yeah, everybody's nodding their head.
Let's try this. I think this one's going to work.
40 or less. Is that better? Is this better? Okay. So everybody wants 40 or less hours coming out. How much you want to make? 60? 100? 200? 250? Yeah? Okay, now I got a question for you. How many years ago do you think I was here at Mississippi State and actually took some sort? One, okay. How many years ago that I was here? 30. Over or under on the 30? Let me see show of hands for under. Oh, I like you folks. The overs get it. It was about 40 years ago. And I look forward to getting out of school, getting a job. And how do you go from being in school, getting a job, and then owning it's about a $27 million company that I started 20 years ago. How does that happen?
Working hard.
It takes a lot more than 40 hours a week.
Yeah.
So if you guys want to get wealthy and become multimillionaires, it ain't going to do it working 40 hours a week. And it's not working 60 hours a week for just 1 week. It's a lot of time and effort that you got to be willing to put in. I worked for 15 years for other companies. And then I was able to start my own and grow it and develop it. So that's the end of my story. Any questions? No questions?
What happened in those kind of years?
Well, there were a few things here and there. I'm originally from my mother, and I went to college, and the first time I went to college, it didn't work too well, okay? I didn't do very well at all. And I quit, floundered around, got a job working as an assistant manager trainee at a Kentucky Fried Chicken store, cleaning toilets and fryers and bread and chicken and doing everything. Worked my way up, won some awards at the store that I managed. Colonel Sanders actually came to my store to teach me how to fry chicken. Yeah, the real colonel. And he goes, son, this isn't really the way you do it. Let me show you how it's really done. And he had a different way of doing it. Then he goes, by the way, this seasoning over here, that's not the real original recipe. Let me tell you where to get it. And he had his nephew mixing that seasoning up and selling it to folks. I realized I enjoyed working with people and food and did not want to do that the rest of my life. I didn't want to work the weekends, holidays, nights, 60 to 80 hours a week. I wanted to move up the food chain, so to speak. So I felt like I needed to get some pieces of paper that said I knew something, called a college degree. And there were 2 schools in the country at the time that offered a program that combined business and food science. Mississippi State was one, Cornell was the other. That time, Mississippi State's tuition was $250 a semester. Not bad. That was back in the day. So my choice was simple. Came down here, got residency, got a job, applied to school. Had to come over here and beg the head of the department to give me a chance because I'd blown it so bad before. And they did. And I did extremely well in school. And then while I was in school, I needed work, and I wound up getting a job managing a restaurant here in town. So I had a full-time job, going to school full-time, and I didn't sleep very much. But I was still able to, I think I maintained a 3.97 in my undergraduate, and managed, at that time it was about a $750,000 restaurant, which wasn't too bad back in the day. That was late 70s dollars, so you can figure that out in today's dollars. So anyway, it was quite an experience. I did that, had enough income, I decided to stay on and get a master's degree, which I did, and did not want to compromise as far as the job goes. I did not want to go to work for a food company coming out of school. Because when you do, you wind up in that commodity group for a career. And I didn't know what commodity group I wanted to be with. That means, like, you go to work for a dairy company, you're going to be there in dairy for the rest of your life. Or a meat company, a vegetable company, or whatever. I wanted to go to work in food packaging and research. Anybody ever hear that? Food packaging research. And I couldn't find a job. And wasn't sure what to do, but the best food packaging research university in the country was Purdue University at the time. So my professor here got in touch with his good friend up there, and I got an assistantship at Purdue in food packaging research. The first project given to me was funded by a food packaging company. Needless to say, I busted my ass on that job doing that research. During the first semester, there were some representatives from that company came down to school and said, "You're really doing a good job on this. We have a job we'd like you to consider, but there are 2 problems. One is it won't wait for you to finish your PhD. And the second is," and I'm thinking, that sounded pretty good. And the second is top secret. We can't tell you what it is. And I thought, well, that sounds even better. So went to work for an American can company, and the first product we developed, which was top secret at the time, was the plastic ketchup bottle. Looked pretty simple, didn't it? Plastic bottle, put ketchup in it. It was a $10 million research and development project in 1980 dollars. So you can figure out what that would be today. Worked there for a few years, loved the job. My job was to go out and test food in these packages. And so I was at every major food manufacturer in the country putting their product into these containers and seeing what happened. And it was a very, very good experience. Got recruited back to Mississippi by a poultry company that had started a further process division. Wanted somebody to head up their research and development, quality assurance area, which I did. I wasn't afraid of Mississippi. I'd been here, became a bulldog. And this was a startup operation. And in the course of 13 years that I was there, we went from virtually nothing in this division to over 160 million in sales. I developed, myself and my staff developed about 400 different chicken products, including all of the Wendy's items except their original filet. We helped redesign that. Numerous other fast food and retail products out there. I knew that company was going to sell. The son of the founder had moved in, he was taking over, and he was totally incompetent. And so I basically made a game plan of what I wanted to do when they sold. So I had a plan A and a plan B. Well, they sold, and they sold to Tyson. And Tyson took me over to Springdale, said, "Boy, great to have you as part of the team. Isn't this great? Look at all this stuff." And sat me down at the end of the day and asked me if I'd rather do this or would you rather do this, which was a compliment. And I said, well, I'd really like, if I could have 3 or 4 or 5 of the seasoning blends on products that we developed and sell them to you, I'd have enough revenue to take my R&D staff out of severance, and we'd be there for you. And they kind of looked at me funny and couldn't think of a reason to say no, so that's how I got started. I used other manufacturers to make products for me. I had a lab. We designed and developed seasonings, sauces, batters, breaders, marinades, rubs for other food companies. And that's what I focused on for about 5 years. One of the co-packers called me up one day. They were owned by Sara Lee. Said, Sara Lee's going to shut this operation down. Just wanted to let you know. I said, well, can I buy it? And I don't know, I'll check. And we worked out a deal where I was able to buy it for book value of the equipment, which by that time all this equipment was depreciated out, so it was very low price. And usable inventory, provided I take their employees so they didn't have a severance situation, which I had no employees to run a manufacturing operation. So they wanted me out of that facility, so I had to find some land, build a building, put this equipment in. And I had 2 other co-packers at the time that I brought the business over to that facility. That was a very risky thing for me. I risked everything I had, plus my children's future. Sold my wife into slavery, sold the kids, but we were able to make it happen, pull through. That got us into the manufacturing area. This year we'll do 27 million or so. Have two plants, one in Memphis, one in Pearl. And any questions? So how many of you are playing video games or on Facebook on these computers here? Did somebody raise their hand over there? No, come on.
So when you say you risk your kids' future, like, what happens if you have to fail?
I would probably Rocco and Vito would have come and removed some of my body parts and thrown me into the reservoir with cement boots. So no, I mean your house, your home, all assets that you have are at risk. Your risk of losing everything that you've worked your whole life for.
So what do you think your risk was when you did that, like 99% risk?
No, I felt very confident we'd be successful. I have a very good CFO that I've worked with for 30 years now. Back then it was 10 to 15. We ran the numbers, looked at things, multiple different ways, and felt very confident that we'd do well. And we did. Did extremely well. But it was extremely scary, and the cash situation was extremely, extremely tight. I was mortgaged over my eyeballs, and I had this business, moved it in, and we were growing like crazy, getting new customers, doing more stuff, showing good profitability. But that growth requires a lot of capital. Okay? If you grow a company, say, around $2 million in revenue in a year, that's almost $200,000 a month, okay? Thereabouts. And you sell the product, you ship it out, you've had to pay for the ingredients on that product, the labor to produce it, the packaging. You ship it out, and you have to wait for 30 to 45 days to get your money. So you grow the business $2 million, you've got to come up with about $200,000 to support that sale, to be able to finance being able to sell it. So it's tough, and that's right now. Go ahead.
Did you ever trouble convincing your wife when you're talking about doing all the celebrity?
Well, I didn't tell her too much. I did tell her that we were putting everything on the line, and we may have to go into a single wide if this doesn't work out. So, any other yeah.
So you told us about the financial challenges you had, but you had no plant that was producing anything. You had to get to that point first. There must have been many challenges with that. But you had to get customers, right?
Well, no, I developed a customer base. Tyson was my first. I had the lab. I would go out and call on contacts I had throughout the industry. And we developed business. We had 3 different manufacturers producing product for us. They'd sell to me, and then I would sell to the customer. Had my label on it, my name on it. My invoicing came from me. So at the time I acquired somebody, that gave me the option to be able to manufacture my own stuff. And I pulled the other volume and other business coming from the other 2 co-packers, put it through our operation, and it worked out, even though it was very scary. And any other questions? Go ahead.
I'm curious how the digital age has changed. Is there any difference in terms of being able to sell stuff through internet, or is it still very person to person?
Our business and what we do and who we deal with is very much person to person. We don't do any mass merchandising. We don't try to be like an Amazon. We don't try to sell our brand of anything. What we do is try to find people that sell product, and we develop products for them, custom design it, their taste, their flavor. We had Nukes today at lunch, okay? And, for example, they're a customer. And he's, the guy that started that is Chris Newcomb here in Mississippi, started in Jackson. He had started McAllister's before that, sold a venture capital company. after they got to be about 100 million or so in sales. Waited a few years and then came up with a better idea as far as better food, very similar concept, started it again in Jackson. And he wanted to protect his recipes and make product consistent in his stores. So he actually contacted us because we knew each other, we worked together. And he wanted us to manufacture and package spice packets that he could use 1 packet of spice, put it with a gallon of mayonnaise, mix a cup of lemon juice, and have his homemade salad dressing. And so we do a line of seasoning packets for him. And he also wanted us to package a certain amount of sugar in a package that would be the right amount of sugar for a batch of tea so you could have consistent sweet tea throughout all the stores as they grew. And there are over 125 nukes now, I think. And they're about a $300,000 customer for us. So that's what we do. We try to work with people, preferably smaller, good operators, develop and design stuff for them, and then ride the elevator up. And so far, knock on wood, it's done pretty well. So, any other questions, comments?
About how long did it take to work out of that first hole and first manufacturing line?
It took about 5 years, and we focused and pounded our debt down and reduced it down enough, and then found another company to purchase at that time, about 5 years later. And that was a acquisition of Tastemaker Foods in Memphis. It was a $7 million acquisition. That was kind of scary too, going way back out on that limb and owing everybody and their brother some money, but that's worked out quite well also. And we're in the process of moving that operation from Memphis down to Horn Lake and doubling the facility as far as the size. We bought a 50,000 square foot building to put that operation in. So, yeah.
I'm curious how you handle intellectual property. So you get all these recipes that it seems like a worker could like walk across the street.
Well, we keep those. We don't keep copies of them anywhere. It's on paper. It's not on a computer, and we store them in mayonnaise jars, buried out behind the plant. So, any other questions? No, it's. In our industry, anybody that's got a good R&D team can pretty much take anything out there and match it. Okay? It's not that. No, it's not that much of a secret, even though Coke and KFC and those people will disagree with me. There might be a few items out there, but it's and a lot of it, well, I don't know. It's hard to say. Good.
After you acquired the company initially for yourself, how did you maintain the employees or gain new employees that allowed you to have a talented group that would lead you to the new research and development product?
I try to treat people the way I'd like to be treated. I've got some of my key employees were with me back in the chicken plant, and they're still with me. So I've been with 30 years. If I get good talent that come in, I want to make sure I keep them. And a lot of that's the work environment, the situation, but it's also money. I've got a fellow that started for me probably about 3 years ago. He was up here at State. He was a postdoc, is what they called him, in food science. And started for me. After about a month, I sat down, talked to him, had a review, and asked him, how things were going. He said, well, I come to work at 6, and I go home at 6. Then I go to sleep, and I wake up at 2, and I think about all the problems. And I'm writing code. I said, what? I don't know what that is. I'm writing code. I'm solving all the problems. So he wrote code, and he solved all of our inventory issues, scheduling problems, so much MIS type stuff that he did. It was amazing. Dropped over $1 million out of our inventory, improved our production efficiency 15, 20, 30%. He's got the golden handcuffs on him now. There's no way he's going to go anywhere. Plus, he's very well respected and very well liked, and has a very good environment in which to work. So, if you're thinking you're going to 40-hour week and make a whole lot of money, that doesn't happen very much at all, unless you win the lottery or something. So, any other questions, comments? Go ahead.
What was your biggest failure that you now look back and say that was the biggest success for you?
I've had so many failures, I can't remember them all. Just one after the other. And you got to pick yourself up and go again. One of my recent ones it's kind of crazy. There was a company that we were going to acquire over in Arkansas, and the guy, he and I talked a few times. He called me back, and he wanted to sell. He's an older guy, had a pacemaker put in, didn't have any family in the business, and he was losing money, and losing a fair amount of money. And so we looked at it, and we figured out that he could make money. And we knew exactly how he could make money, and we told him. And we had a deal all worked out, and to buy this thing. And he pulled out at the last minute because he was making money. We showed him how to make money, and no, I think I don't want to sell. So that was a big mistake on my part, big failure. Spent a lot of time and resources fixing his business, and he yanked it out. So, yeah. So, won't do that again. But any other comments, questions? Did anybody watch the debate last night? You did? You would think out of 300 million people, we could come up with 2 that are better than what we had up there. Oh, man. I'm just scratching my head. So, go ahead.
I was in the line, so I know you're talking about the catch-up ball, but we're probably talking about what's your viewpoint on patents and things like that?
On what? I don't think patents are worth a shit. Okay? I really don't. There might be if you're like Apple or Google and you've got some really cool shit that you've done, but people are still going to read your patent, figure out what to change, go do it and make it similar. And then what do you do if you're a company? You take them to court and the lawyers win. That's what happens. We were enshrouded in secrecy with the plastic ketchup bottle. You know, it looks pretty simple. And had patents and everything covered, rolled it out with Heinz, and within a year, Hunt's had their supplier figure out how to do it. Read our patent, changed a few things, and then what can you do? So there's been a lot of stuff over the years that I've done back in the chicken plant and also with what we do now that is probably patentable, but what good does it do? It's not going to really protect you. It might a little bit, and it might scare somebody off. And it would be attractive if you're trying to develop, get funding for a new business venture to say you have your item patented. But does it really stop somebody from moving in on your space? Change it a little bit, go out, kind of do the same end game. But, and if you're like Samsung and Apple, you wind up in court, and the lawyers win. So, any other comments, questions?
The student online was asking, do you produce any products for KFC?
No, we don't. Our biggest food service customers are probably O'Charlie's and Jack's are the two biggest. We specialize and we try to focus on small to mid-size companies, restaurant in the food service arena that are ignored by our competitors and our larger competitors that don't have an R&D staff, don't have a culinary staff, want to do new things, want to have their own label and flavor and name of product. And if we can find those people, for example, like a Nukes, that are well managed, well capitalized, and grow, if we develop and do some stuff for them, then we ride the elevator up and grow with them. So, you know, that Nukes account started out at a few $1,000s a year, and now it's hundreds of thousands. I'm not sure how many, maybe 300,000, something like that. So that's what we like to do. And then on the industrial side, we try to work with the research and development groups of some of these major food companies in designing their new flavor for their new item. And oftentimes it'll be a retail item that's out there. So, any other comments, questions? You want to hear any of my college stories? Huh? I used to ride a motorcycle, and I managed this restaurant. And I closed down the restaurant one night. I was going home. I lived out Octok Road, about 5 to 7 miles out here. You know where that roundabout is now? Used to be a stop sign. Pulled up to the stop sign. Anybody know what a GTO is? Is a car? The old GTOs? Well, an old GTO, and this was back in the day now. GTO pulled up behind me, revving his engine, burned out, peeled out around me. And I had a Honda Goldwing 1000. And I said, that sucker. So I just laid on it, and I passed him before you get to that 90-degree curve up there. And went around that curve. Then you go over some roller coaster hills, and I laid on that thing. And it'd go 90 in third, and I was well into fourth gear. And then up ahead, there were some S-curves, and I saw the blue lights flashing off the trees up there. And I shut the sucker down, came around the corner. And back at the restaurant, I got to preface this, I always used to give the cops free coffee and pie in the afternoon. Okay, so they'd come by every afternoon, get by. It's good to have cops around. And came around that corner. I had an expired tag, expired safety inspection sticker. Who knows how fast I was going? And he flagged me over. He goes, "What you doing out here so late?" I said, "Well, I run the Western Sizzling there in town. I just got done from work. I'm going home." He goes, "Oh, so how fast you going back there?" I said, "I don't know, 40, 50. You go, "Well, there's a trooper back in the bushes back there. Said you were going so fast he couldn't even get you on radar." I said, "Oh, there's somebody behind me. I thought they were going to run me over." "Where'd they go?" I said, "I think they turned off at the cemetery down there." He goes, "Well, you go on ahead. We'll get them." So, honest to God, true story. Only in Mississippi. Any other comments, questions? Are you going to put that on their test?
Absolutely. What made you go into food?
I've struggled and searched. That's why I did so poorly in college the first time. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And, after I got involved in the Kentucky Fried Chicken and realized I enjoyed working with food and working with people, and I felt like it was a very honest profession that was basic to life. Everybody needs to eat. You're in business to do business and make money. You're not pretending to be somebody else. So it fit with me. I've got a science bent as far as background. I also have a good understanding for business, and the food science business combination has worked very well for me. And I would encourage a lot of engineers in here. Are there? I would encourage you engineers to take some business courses, some accounting, some business, management type things, just so you know about a balance sheet and what a difference is between an expense and an asset. I'm spending $500,000 in equipment, 2 pieces of equipment at our plant in Pearl this year. Is that an expense? No, that's not an expense. That's an exchange of assets. I'm changing cash for these machines that are going to make us more efficient, give us more capabilities. Okay? If I was to go out and spend $500,000 on whiskey and gambling, that's an expense. Money's gone, you don't have anything there. But that's important to understand that. I think it's very helpful to be able to read an income statement, read a balance sheet, kind of understand them. You don't have to be experts. And then some of the management theory that I learned in the courses I took here still stay with me. And some of those concepts of like not being able to delegate responsibility. I mean, I'm responsible for everything that happens at that plant. I can't delegate the responsibility. So, and it's things like that are, and how to environments that'll get you high performance out of your employees and get them to excel and do really well. Those are things that they teach over there. And then if you know the technical on the engineering side, and you combine those two, it can be very powerful as far as a big toolbox you can carry around to fix anything you want in business. Any other questions, comments?
About how long did it take you to decide you wanted to go back to school when you were working for MSU?
It was about 4 years. I did that for about 4 years, and it was time to go back. I wasn't going to go any further. I had advanced in that company as far as I was going to advance. And I worked for franchisees. And one year they took me to a conference that they had in Columbus, Ohio. We sat down, franchisees were all bitching about something. They were going to have an uprising. Went to lunch. We're sitting there with my bosses. This guy comes over and sits down. Hey, Don and Mary, how you doing? Oh, pretty good, Dave. How you doing? Well, I'm starting my own operation here in Columbus. Got the first one going, and I'm going to be selling franchises. We sell burgers hot off the grill, 4% butterfat shakes. I named it after my daughter, Wendy. So that was the first time I met him. And then wound up developing his chicken products for him. And he came down to our chicken plant for a social with our key management. And I reminded him about that meeting, which was, 15, 20 years before that. He goes, oh, yeah, I remember. So who'd you work for? Don and Mary. Oh, yeah, how are they doing? So, just a great guy that started as a dishwasher in Kentucky Fried Chicken, worked his way up, got one store, figured out how to do something else with his name, and but he was a billionaire. I've only made it to a few million, so there's a little difference. Any other questions, comments?
Can you tell us about some of your favorite food products you've developed?
Like the groat clusters? The groat clusters, toasted perfection, return to water before you're ready. Or the southern fried glimpse. I don't know. I mean, there's been a lot. I mentioned the Wendy's, the Dairy Queen chicken products. Probably our best product that we sell is very unique and very different is a corn dog mix. Anybody here like corn dogs? We sell to the carnivals corn dogs, funnel cake mix, so on and so forth. But this corn dog mix is a very special formula. You don't have to dry your wiener before you dip it. Just saying. You know, a wet wiener will give you blowout, all kinds of problems. So we've solved that problem. Somebody was awake. Any other comments, questions?
What's your favorite place to eat?
My favorite place? Depends on what day it is, I guess. I don't know. Huh? And what it is. For ribs, I like Central in Memphis, probably better than anywhere. The steak at Shapley's in Madison is as good as anywhere you can get in the country. Somebody else agrees with me over here. I like to cook myself quite a bit. I love to find a small, little out-of-the-way, independent diner that does home cooking and the meat and three type places. So those are always good. Go ahead.
What's the strangest product somebody does you want?
Strangest? Well, I mentioned chocolate chicken, at the lunch, and we've actually worked on that, by the way. That's probably about as strange as you get. So, yeah. Well, my sons are running it now. I'm an advisor. So I get to take more time off, go do fun things. We plan on trying to develop, grow. We've got a joint venture going with a Japanese company that's working out pretty well up in the Midwest. We're looking at possibility of doing some more acquisitions. We'll be, trying to grow our base organically also. So I would, like to see us double in the next 10 years, which is possible. But, so.
You mentioned you've got a great relationship with your CFO. What kind of strengths does he have that complement your own weaknesses or vice versa?
He is a very nerdy, detail-oriented guy that we can drink beer together. So, and talk about business away from the office and figure things out. And he's extremely honest, almost to a fault. So, which is a very good characteristic in a CFO that signs checks for the company. So any other comments, questions? I don't have anything else. Get them out of here a little early.
Thank you very much.
Got it.